Ops reporting. Begin operations immediately. Sir!
We can make it. Get to the station and board the train for Eden.
You think it's still running?
Well, if it isn't, we'll make it run.
Then punch straight into the heart of the sanctum? Now you're thinking like a pulse L'Cie.
Well, this is Operation Nora. It's not just Snow I'm after. The sanctum's gotta pay too. Hey, you're the one who said we had to fight. Every minute we waste, we're tempting fate. There's some underground tunnels not far from here. I used to play in them when I was a kid. No one uses the entrance anymore, so even the army doesn't know about it. But I know where it is. We can sneak in under their noses.
Sounds good.
Great. Here we go.
No more rivalries now. PSICOM's brought in the Guardian Corps.
Okay. There's an old drainage pipe. We can use it to avoid being seen. The tunnel entrance is a little further up.
Hello and welcome back to my Let's Challenge of Final Fantasy XIII. In the last episode, we completed Chapter 6 up in the beautiful sunlit waterscape with Saz and Vanille, and there is our trophy for doing just that. And now we are here in Palumpolum, ready to rejoin Lightning and Hope. So as I make my way through the various Crystarium boosts that we want to give our characters, we can go through what happened in Chapter 6. So, Chapter 6 we started off catching up with Saz and Vanille. We find that they are on the way to the city of Nautilus, which is essentially in the opposite direction to Palumpolum. They're going to eventually try and escape using all of the chaos that Lightning and Hope are causing in the Gap for Whitewood and so forth, hoping to use all of that as a nice smokescreen for them to escape into a different position. So, now, as Saz and Vanille progressed through the Sunless Waterscape, we learned some new things about them, including the fact that Saz had a son, and his son's name is Daj. Daj was... And essentially, Saz feels a great amount of guilt about what happened to Daj. So essentially, we learn later on in the chapter that Saz took Daj to see a fal'Cie, the fal'Cie known as Kujata, which is located at the Uriday Gorge energy plant. Essentially, it is the fal'Cie charged, I believe, with essentially providing energy to the citizens of to Cocoon as a whole, essentially. And essentially, Saz took his son to go see a fal'Cie because his son was interested in seeing what on earth a fal'Cie, in learning about the fal'Cie and all this sort of stuff. Now, unfortunately, what happened is that at the same time as they entered the Uriday Gorge, same time as they visited, there was an attack on the Uriday Gorge energy plant by some pulse L'Cie, and essentially what happened was the fal'Cie, wanting to protect itself, did the only thing it could, which is make a L'Cie out of the nearest available human. That so happened to be Daj, who had run away from his father as his father was getting him a gift of the chocobo chick that lives in his hair. So, Saz obviously feels guilty about leaving his son, about abandoning his son, and hence leading to Daj's unfortunate branding as a L'Cie. So essentially, Daj is a Sanctum L'Cie, which is completely different to a Pulse L'Cie. Obviously, Sanctum because the fal'Cie that branded him was a Sanctum fal'Cie, so one of Cocoon. So he becomes a Sanctum Falsi, which naturally the Sanctum Falsi are deemed as heroes. They are held in reverence. They essentially help defend Cocoon away from the threat from Pulse. But obviously, Daj being a young boy, a young, you know, he's only, I don't know his actual age, but he's probably only about 6, maybe. And being at such a young age, he really has no way of coping with the sort of the task, the focus that the Falsi might have given him. So as Saz and Vanille continue to make their way through, we suddenly see that Vanille seems to lose her spark somewhat as she sort of starts to, you know, seem far more downbeat than she normally would be. And whilst Saz doesn't necessarily notice this immediately, it is noticed, you know, we obviously can see that things have obviously changed for her, and there's obviously something else going on with regards to what Saz has said in his story that actually might affect Vanille, or might involve Vanille in some way. So now, we really, unfortunately we don't have the items. Oh, we didn't remove our items from Saz and Vanille, that's annoying. So essentially, normally obviously we'd have some better items here for Hope and Lightning, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to have that. So what we'll do is we will go with Physical Wall, I think is the best thing for us. Improved Potions, Veil, High HP Power Surge, Critical Veil, Critical Shield. Essentially, all the criticals aren't particularly good for us because you don't want to be letting your health go down that low anyway. Edged Carbine, what does that do? It doesn't actually give us anything different, doesn't look like. So we'll stick with the Gladius because, again, we want attack in general does more damage than Ruin, so that's important. Thankfully, what happens at the start of this chapter is that you keep all of the paradigms that you had at the start of the previous chapter, which with Light and Hope, which is actually really, really handy. So rather than having to recreate all of our paradigms, we can actually just we just immediately get the ones that we had before. So we're going to meet our first enemies of this chapter, and they are these core Tranquil effects. So essentially, we are now dealing with, we're obviously dealing with Lightning of Guardian Corps troops here. So we're not dealing with, PSICOM troops here, we're actually dealing with the Guardian Corps. And the Guardian Corps have been called in to help, essentially, with the... obviously, as Lightning says at the start of this chapter, you know, there's no rivalries anymore, and essentially the PSICOM have realised that they, you know, have pulled out all the stops right now, and they've realised that they actually need the Guardian Corps' help to keep these l'Cie under tabs. So we've obviously got this sort of this area here where we have to deal with these soldiers. Thankfully, they're pretty easy to get some nice preemptives on. So the core Tranquil effect, you can see that Hope used Thundara. Essentially, the members of the Guardian Corps in Palumpolum have, I believe, they are water affinity. So much like the Guardian Corps located in the Gapra Whitewood were more fire based. So they had like in fire, and they were, I believe that it was fire. They had resistance to fire type attacks. Essentially. The ones here in Palumpolum are, they can cast, or they can have in water cast on them, and they resist water type attacks. So we'll continue to make our way along here. We can pick up some items here, some flasks of holy water. So holy water is a unique item, much like an antidote essentially. It's essentially a specific item to use to get rid of a particular status element. And in the case of holy water, I believe the status ailment is curse. So essentially the reason that they're giving it to you now is because no doubt we will actually be encountering some enemies later on in this chapter who can cast curse on us. I didn't actually get the chance to Libra him, so I would have showed you the scenario. So you can see those soldiers over there. We can actually you can dive down into this pipe here and try and avoid them. We're coming up round here, and then you essentially come up behind them. But at the same time, we will still want to be doing most of the battles, so we won't be running away from anything too soon. So we want to take out the track effects first, as you can see. So there you go. Weakness is lightning, halved is water. Like most of the general, most of the general human enemies, these guys aren't too much of a worry for us, thankfully. So these guys are also, well, we haven't battled enough of them to actually learn much about them, but we will see that they are weak to lightning as well, I believe. Come on. So yeah, there you go. So they've got the mana drive capability of using water type moves. So we should stagger here, get a very quick stagger, and then we can launch. And Hope's doing a nice amount of damage with his lightning, with his electro-based attack. Okay, so now this chapter is full of rather difficult battles. This is probably one of the harder chapters in the game. Not really. I mean, some of the particular battles in this chapter can be rather difficult, and this is one of them. You see the Velacycle that was just swirling around above us is one of the biggest threats to us in this chapter, as we don't actually have enough. Do you have enough? 480, so no. I'm assuming everything is 480, yeah. So yeah, so this next battle is going to be annoying, but what we're going to do is we're going to start off in Super Soldier, and we'll see how we go here. This enemy is very dangerous, and we'll be better placed to battle it later on, but right now it can pretty much rip holes. Because we've got a relatively offensive team, it can pretty much destroy us very, very fast. Actually, you want to Libra you. So essentially, the Falco Velacycle, so, yes. Big threat. We want to get stagger very, very fast. Essentially, the reason it's such a big threat is because it has a particularly damaging ultimate attack, which just completely destroys you if you don't have the relevant protection. And right now, we don't, as this team of Lightning and Hope, we don't actually have the relevant protection available to us, essentially. And unfortunately, we can't launch this enemy, obviously, because this is a Velacycle, so Velacycles can't be launched. So hopefully, we'll be able to actually defeat this enemy relatively fast, because what we can do is we can block its attacks during the stagger, hopefully. Essentially, you'll see it go for a move. I believe the move is called Gatling Gun, and if Gatling Gun targets down any of your... pretty much any of your characters who aren't a Sentinel, and will have some proper experience with using Sentinels, much as we did in like Chapter 3, I think it was, later on. But yeah, unless you're a Sentinel, it's incredibly dangerous. So thankfully we were able to take out that Velacycle before he actually went for its ultimate attack, so I was very glad to get through that fast. I'm just going to check something. I should still be... yeah, it is still on slow. was just thinking. I was thinking that battle went too well for it to be, for it to have actually, you know, it shouldn't have gone that well. Anyway, so we head into these drainage tubes, I guess, whatever they are. We can grab this item over here, which is a Libroscope, lovely. And then we can arrive in the Nutra-Culture Complex. And we're going to get another... We're going to get another cutscene as we pop down here. There you go, Nutra-Culture Complex.
Don't worry, it'll be fine. Only kids like me know about that entrance.
They'll find it. They'll call in a team and canvass the whole tunnel system.
Then we better hurry.
So, where's this thing come out anyway?
Well, I don't really know for sure.
We'll find out today.
So the Nutra-Culture Complex. Now, obviously, this is an area where essentially...
I think I remember learning about this in school.
Hope's going to give us lots of sort of information, and we also learn some information about this area in the various cutscenes. So essentially, this area is full of these sort of switches which trigger these platforms to arrive, and then you use them to make your way across these vast gaps between walkways. Going to encounter some new enemies, I believe. I'm pretty sure of that. Now, if I remember correctly, let me just check the map. So essentially, I'm just going to hit these switches because essentially, whenever there are two, one of them will take you to the place you want to go, and one of them will take you to essentially a secret area. And the easiest way to tell is essentially if Hope stays behind, then because he's not following you, that shows you that this is actually an alternate route. So as you can see, the reason we want to come over here is for these items. Being, in this case, we get a Phoenix, a Tuft of Phoenix down, lovely. And 4 flasks of holy water. So more holy water. So essentially for each of the various, for a lot of the various debuffs that you get, that can be inflicted upon you, there are various items, specific items that you can use to actually get rid of them. So if I go to the inventory, so at the moment we've obviously got potions, which obviously heat, HP, Libroscopes. We've got antidotes, which removes poison, and then you've got holy water, which removes curse. I believe there are also items for removing slow and other debuffs. So now we have our first experience of Flanators. So Flanators are generally not that bad to deal with. They are kind of annoying. The reason that Flanators are annoying is essentially they have the capacity to heal their allies. So as you can see, he's that other Flantor is using rescue on the first one, and that's indeed causing it obviously to gain health. So whenever you've got multiple Flanators in a battle, it's literally a race between you and them. You've got to kill them before they heal up, heal up enough. So these guys, but by themselves, they're very, very weak, and they really go down rather fast. They're far more annoying when they're in conjunction with other enemies, because obviously they'll spend their time healing those other enemies before. And those enemies are usually far more scary. So we've obviously got another scale beast type enemy. We've obviously battled similar things. We battled similar things in the previous chapter, but these ones are not nearly as scary. The Lucidons. Although, admittedly, they do have a rather annoying attack, being Photon Burst. So Photon Burst is that, essentially sends out that, you know, a small little
Keep up with me, Hope.
The worst thing about the Lucidon is essentially its attacks always interrupt you, so they'll throw the character that it's aiming at up in the air, and that's just really annoying. They also take long enough to stagger that... That's what I meant. They take long enough to stagger that you can't just simply, you know, start in like dual casting and then just get them to stagger. So you will obviously constantly need to be going to heal and stuff like that. But like any of these type of enemy, as soon as they are staggered, they are much easier to deal with. I wish this one would particularly stop aiming at Hope all the time. There we go, thank you. I want some of the fun. So hopefully we should stagger after this. You can see it does over 200 damage, which is quite a lot. Come on, stagger. Yeah, stagger. There we go, lovely. So now we'll start doing tremendous amounts of damage. There we go, lovely. So down goes the Lucidon. We'll face a few more others of that type of enemy later on in the chapter. And we get another cutscene.
Production fallacy. Name's Carbuncle. That's one of our enemies, being Sanctum and all.
So, kill him and cut off the food supply. That'll make us popular.
I think people have enough reason to hate us, don't you?
Yeah, you're probably right. Hungry people make for angry people.
Why don't we use that as a landmark?
So there we go, essentially another introduction to yet another Sanctum fallacy and another illustration of how the, you know, of how much the humans here on Cocoon actually rely on the fallacy. So obviously this fallacy here actually provides all of the food, and for that reason is incredibly important, and evidently not that well protected somewhere. Obviously the name Carbuncle is somewhat reminiscent of carbuncles in previous Final Fantasies. I'm sure, I'm almost certain Carbuncle is a name that's been in previous Final Fantasies. Wouldn't be able to tell you which, but I'm almost certain it is. See, the annoying thing is that, you know, we've obviously got to wait for this guy to... He casts his rescue and then manages to heal up his friend for a little bit. I think the important thing about the Phalanxes is that they can't, I don't believe they can heal themselves. So as long as you take them down to, you know, only one at a time, then they're absolutely fine. For those wondering, a carbuncle itself, there are two definitions. You can have it's either a severe abscess or multiple boils on the skin, so it's not particularly nice, or it can also be a bright red gem. So yeah, I think that one is far more reminiscent of what on earth's going on there with that rather lovely looking fallacy. So what we'll do is we'll see if does Hope go on to this or not. Yes, he does. So actually what we want to do is we want to activate this one. I believe usually it's the one that's on the left, but I might be incorrect in saying that. So as you can see, Hope doesn't follow us onto here, and we can take this over to another battle, where Hope will magically respawn by us in order to do so. Lucidon and the Flanator. We'll see if we can't... if we could get preemptive, that would have been beautiful, but no. So obviously the Flanator's the key here. He can't heal himself, so as long as we take him out, then we'll be fine. I need you to have Protect, Hope. It's the only thing that's keeping you.
Keep up with me, Hope.
Should survive that. Okay, stop that. Okay, so now get your health up. And we'll go to Super Soldier, and I believe we do want Shell here, because it seems to imply by the... So, if you see it says, employs physical and magical combination attacks, which to me suggests that maybe, come on, Shell. There we go, okay. Yeah, so that does a lot less now. That's good. Is that now targeting me? No, still targeting Hope. So it is 170, so these Lucidons are doing a good job of just targeting down Hope all the time. Which is exactly what we don't want. Oh, there we go. Good. Thank you. I am also here. So for those of you, again, wondering, so Lucidon, it doesn't say quite here where the actual English name comes from, but if you're wondering, the Japanese name comes from the German word for tortoise shell. In Japanese, it's known as a shiruta pato, I think, is the what it's saying here. There we go, lovely stagger, wonderful. 1, 2, 3. Come on, Hope. There we go, lovely. So you can see once it, once it loses its carapace, it becomes normal and everything, and gets unremarkable in the notes, which is rather mean in a way, but there you go. I can only assume that Flanator is just a a combination of Flan, obviously, because they are the Flanators are obviously very much based off of the Flan, very similar to the ones that we saw, for example, in Chapter 6, the one we just saw with Sazam and Neil. So they're obviously very similar in that sense, but then you've also got the janitor aspect, I guess, is where that name comes from. I think this is the wrong one, isn't it? Are you going to go onto that? No, you're not. So that is the wrong one. So we want to activate you. So there we go. Cool. So we can now progress onto here, get the platform moving. I can only assume that this sends us back because there's only one of them. Although I do remember 3 for some reason. But at the same time we can't activate it, so that's a good sign. So anyway, we'll continue to make our way through this section. We've got another Lucidon to battle, and then another cutscene, and then we might call this episode to an end as we're just overstepping 30 minutes. So that sounds like a good plan. So, as soon as we get Shell on, we'll be able to progress nicely. Cool.
Keep up with me, Hope.
So, yeah, so we've now got full information about this enemy. That's good. Just wanted to make sure that we were getting there. There we go. So we'll continue to try and get this guy staggered, and then once we do, we'll be able to just take this guy out and get on to that next cutscene. That stagger's going down a little too fast for my liking, but there we go. Lovely. So there we go, we take out that last Lucidon. So, and now we can come over here, and like I said, there's another cutscene. I'm just working out how long. We might be able to continue after the cutscene. I don't know how long it is to the next one. I don't think it's too long.
Pulseless sea, using a sanctum fallacy to tell where we're going. Sort of strange.
Not really. We've relied on them our whole lives. The food we eat, the light and water, it's all from the Fal'Cie. You know, I think Cocoon was really built for them. The rest of us, we're just leeches, parasites.
You think? They protect us, nurture us, and take care of, well, normal people. They treat us like we're special. Almost like we're pets.
Like pets. To them, we are just pets. That's it. Now it makes sense. I'm so blind. I was born into a Fal'Cie world, raised on a Fal'Cie leash. It was the only life I knew how to live. When it was taken from me, I was completely lost. Without a master to follow, my life had no purpose. Hope, listen to me. This Lassie curse, it took everything from me. My future, my dreams. I didn't want to think. So I fought instead. As long as I was fighting, nothing else was real. I was running away. And you, Hope, you got swept along with me.
Well, Lightning, I don't understand.
Operation Nora is over.
What? No! You told me to fight!
I made a mistake!
But you can't do this. You can't just build something up like that, then abandon me.
I won't abandon you. I won't.
So there we have this realization of Lightning's as she comes to terms with what's happened to her and why she reacted in the way she has, and now we have a brand new problem as to how on earth, into what on earth we do next. So, I hope you have enjoyed this episode of my Let's Challenge of Final Fantasy XIII. It's been another successful episode. Very glad we got by that Falco Bella cycle without dying. That was one of the battles I was worried about here. But thankfully we got through that. Got through all the Lucidons, all of that sort of stuff. So that's really good. And I hope you will join me on the next episode, where we will be finishing off probably the Nutriculture Complex, and then we'll have a brand new team combination at the end of this section, and a brand new playstyle, really sort of, a different playstyle to go along with it. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you will join me on the next.